Hello there, my name is Lynn Jocelyn. I'm a functional medicine physician assistant trained through the Institute for Functional Medicine. I am a board certified physician assistant and a certified food and spirit practitioner. Today we're going to talk about detoxification. And before we begin, I just want to chat about the word detoxification. There's a ton of information out there that I feel like has taken away from the true meaning and importance of this word. And I do believe there's many detox protocols and detox plans and detox food plans that can be really supportive. But today I want to talk about the physiological changes in the body that support our own body's innate wisdom to know how to rid itself of toxic overload when we support it adequately. My medical disclaimer, the information in this presentation is for educational purposes only, does not constitute any specific medical advice to you, and it's important to talk with your practitioner if you have any questions about changing anything in your protocol. Most likely, if you're getting this video, we are working together, and so we're probably already working in a one-on-one way, and if we're not and you're interested, please reach out. All right, so we're going to keep moving on. Let's talk first just the definition of detoxification. I often like to go back to the basics when I'm breaking words down. So it's a noun, and biochemistry, the metabolic process by which toxins are changed into a less toxic or more readily excretable substances. So one thing I really want to share, there is no way for us to walk through this world without ingesting, inhaling, putting toxins on our body. It's just part of being alive. And the toxic substances that we're faced with or experience on a day-to-day basis definitely have increased in our industrial age, and as things, we have more exposure to more different toxic chemicals. The body is profound and powerful. So through biochemistry, we use a metabolic process to take toxins into a less toxic form and then get rid of them. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So accumulation versus detoxification, it's a great balancing act, right? There's no way we can go through our day and not have any exposure to toxins. It's just unrealistic. And so we want to balance when those toxins come in, accumulating them too much and detoxifying. So that scale is constantly changing. We'll get rid of them. Some will come in. Sometimes they stay too long. We work on our detox and through our pathways and remove them. So I just brought this up because it is a fine balancing act. Let's take a look at the body as a bucket. And I want you to think about the total body burden. So if our body is in a really good state of health and our detox pathways are functioning well, toxins will come in, toxins will go out. They don't necessarily accumulate. But if we're under a lot of stress, we're doing in burnout with work, we maybe have some genetic variants that affect our detoxification pathways. We are eating a standard American diet, not getting lots of fruits and vegetables and a lot of the cofactors that help detoxification, then our total body burden can increase. So if you look at this, we are a total body bucket. And when it overflows, those are symptoms: brain fog, body aches, joint aches, fatigue, anxiety, depression. The pebbles are all the toxic, harmful substances. So the more pebbles we get in here, the higher the water raises and tips over. So a couple different things. How do we lower the water pressure? And how do we decrease the amount of toxins or pebbles that are coming in? So the detoxification organs in the body that we're going to talk about are the liver and the gallbladder, bile system, our kidneys, our intestines, skin, our lymph system, intestines, again, I just had to put the poop guy in there, and then our respiratory system, the way we exhale carbon dioxide, inhale oxygen. So let's take a look at this again, just a little closer. Like I said, the pebbles represent those harmful substances, so things like alcohol, tick-borne illnesses, environmental biotoxins that come in, chemicals, electromagnetic fields, standard American diet, certain genetic SNPs that we may have or turn on or off by how we're living. Stress and isolation, mycotoxins, mold, yeast, bacterial overgrowth, and prescription medicines. These are just a few. But the goal is to lower this total toxic burden by removing those pebbles. And how do we do that? We're going to talk about this, but let's just look at this list real quick. So most of these you've already seen before because there's a lot of overlap in maintaining health and the things we talk about. So good sleep-wake cycles, really good attention to circadian rhythm. Phytonutrient-rich diet, that's eating the rainbow every day. Those vagal toning or supporting your parasympathetic nervous system. Supporting phase 1 and phase 2 liver support, and we're going to go into more detail in that in today's topic. The vagal nerve exercises, that's the vagal toning. This supports our GI motility, the ability of our intestines to move things through. Cognitive therapy, really tapping into our thoughts as either health or disease because they can take us down either pathway. Working with somebody to do EMDR, brain spotting, or supporting the ability to change those neural pathways that maybe are taking us down unhealthy pathways. Really working to harness the ability of the brain for neuroplasticity. Supplements, sauna, all these different things, movement that we will go into. So what is a toxin? A toxin is anything that steals an electron. So let's keep it really simple. When a substance comes in, it's in the form of a chemical, and a toxin takes one of those electrons, and this is called oxidation. So a couple of slides here that are going to be a little more wordy, but I really want to drive this point home. A pro-oxidant, something that is increasing the chances for oxidation, is the same as a free radical, is the same as a toxin. So biomolecules are the things in our body that make our body work. And so when those biomolecules, proteins and amino acids, different things, when they get oxidated, remember what oxidation is? We take an electron, they become unstable and they can cause disease. Okay, so that's a pro-oxidant, a free radical, and a toxin. What is an antioxidant? Just what it sounds. Antioxidant, it stops oxidation. So it acts as an antitoxin because it restores that electron depletion. It gives that electron back, making that biomolecule more stable. So free radicals, you can think of them as these little red guys. They're running around robbing different biomolecules of electrons. So it's back to basic electrons, protons in chemistry. So let's take a look at a cell over here. If you think of all these things, ultraviolet rays, atmospheric pollution, stress, poor diet, these are acting upon the cell wall and causing free radicals. On this side, the cell wall is in very good, intact, it's doing what it's supposed to. On this side, when it's affected by all the free radicals, it's a damaged cellular membrane, so that cell does not work as well. And if this is going on throughout the whole body, we have what we call leaky cells. Leaky gut, leaky brain, leaky cells. And it's very important. Our membranes in our body are critical to health. So the formation of free radicals, here's this picture again. Different things that can cause free radicals. Remember those little red guys, those robbers that are making the biomolecules in our body unstable. So ultraviolet light, air pollution, ionizing radiation, smoking or toxins that we're inhaling, inflammation, illness, biotoxins. So biomolecules, those are the molecules, just going to drive this point home one more time. There are the molecules and cells that support the function of the body. things like nucleic acid, proteins, enzymes, sugars, fats, the things we need to live. When these are oxidized, remember, when an electron is taken away, they become not quite as effective or active, or sometimes inactive in doing what they're supposed to do in the body. So oxidized biomolecules do not support healthy function. Toxicity and any symptoms of toxicity cannot exist unless electrons are being taken from those biomolecules. So it's just this transfer of electrons that is causing disease. And this is what it sums it all up. Increased oxidation. So oxidation, remember, stealing those electrons is called oxidative stress. So oxidative stress in and of itself does not cause disease. It is the disease. So in functional medicine, integrative medicine, we're always trying to go back to the root cause. Okay, great. We have these symptoms. We take it all the way back. Are they caused by oxidative stress in the body due to free radicals, toxins, the way we're living, the choices? And so we begin there to minimize toxic exposures, to eat all the fruits and vegetables, a very phytonutrient-rich diet. We move our bodies, sweat, and do certain things at that root cause to prevent disease. So we're going to dive deeper into this oxidative stress. Here's this picture of the formation of free radicals again. I'm just going to go through some overview of some chemicals, and this is by no means all of them, but this is just some ideas to get you thinking of things you're exposed to. So toxic chemicals in plastics. We have phthalates, PVCs, BPA, and BPS. BPA, as you all know, I'm pretty sure they're hormone disruptors. So BPA acts as an estrogen in our body, and so it can actually bind to estrogen receptors and cause estrogen-like effects. So people sometimes with huge exposure to BPA and other plastics will have a estrogen dominance in their body, and this causes a big disruption in their hormones and how they feel. So knowing your plastics, oh my gosh, this is a busy slide. There's lots of different plastics out there. My recommendation overall is to just minimize the amount of plastics that you're using. Get yourself some glass containers, store foods in glass containers as best you can. Now, sometimes it's not possible, and that's fine. If nothing else, minimize heating anything in plastic containers. Direct exposures. So this is how our body takes in different chemicals in different ways. So we have inhalation of different emissions, things from driving, cars on the road, airplanes, just all the emissions it takes, and this is how it affects and gets into the body. Refining and manufacturing, certain skin products. The skin is the biggest organ system in the body, right? And we forget putting things on our skin is like eating them. So they absorb into the skin and can cause the same free radicals and problems as if we were eating or drinking them. Certain consumer uses, so they put certain things on like fire retardants, and there's plastics and tires. There's certain sizing properties that they put on clothes that can be really toxic. Waste management, incinerators, they create toxic elements in the air. So if you this is again a busy slide, but things like heavy metals, dioxins, persistent organic pollutants, things that are like pesticides. So lots of things that we're exposed to every day. Exotoxins and endotoxins. This is just a list. Now I'm going to oversimplify this a lot. I think of endotoxins as things that are made within. So we can create our own toxic environments within our body. Certain intestinal bacteria create something called LPS. LPS causes tons of inflammation in the body. So stress, emotions, those are endo. They happen within our body systems. Exotoxins, things from the outside that we just went over, things that we're inhaling, ingesting, putting on our skins. So let's get to the meat of this. We're going to talk first about the organ system of detoxification, that is the liver. So many of you, if we're working together, I've talked about supporting your phase 1 and phase 2 liver detoxification systems. And now I'm going to go through that with you. So phase 1 has to do with something called our cytochrome P450 enzymes. And this is where in the liver we begin to break down through biochemical processes, through oxidation, reduction, hydrolysis, hydration, and dehalogenation, and we break that toxin down. Now here's the kicker. It goes into an intermediate phase. The intermediate phase is actually more toxic than it was when it was just in its toxin form. So it's really important that we also have an adequate working phase 2. Phase 2 goes through the biochemical process of sulfonation, glucuronidation, glutathione conjugation, so we add a glutathione molecule to get rid of it, acetylation, amino acid conjugation, and methylation, which we talked about last week. And then, I like to call it phase 3, we eliminate it. It gets tagged, something gets stuck on that intermediate toxin, and we get rid of it by urine, bile, stool, and skin sweating. Here's all the nutrients that support phase 1. So when I talk about getting foods rich in B vitamins, folic acid, flavonoids, and glutathione, this is the area we're supporting. Nutrients needed for phase 2, methionine, cysteine, these are amino acids. Certain B vitamins, vitamin C, glutamine, folic acid is B9. So here we are again, just another way to look at this. Our toxins come in. These are all the things that come either within our body, break down from hormones and neurotransmitters, or things from outside, drugs, insecticides, pesticides, pollutants. They go to phase 1. We break those down. It becomes more intermediate, so we hope our phase 2 is working well, and then we eliminate. So I guess here we go again. This is just another picture. This is the nutrients. I know, that's why I put it in. So phase 1 is supported by these nutrients, very important. Phase 2, and then once they become water soluble, we can get rid of them. And supporting then phase 3, you would want to support by making sure you're pooping every day. You're getting adequate fiber so that you're removing, because through urination and your bowels, because if they stay in, things can be reabsorbed and recycled. So this is what happens if there's imbalance in our detoxification systems. So sometimes perhaps you're not getting all the nutrients that support phase 1 or phase 2, or maybe you have a genetic SNP that you're not aware of, so you don't know to support it that affects either one of these phases. So let's just talk about if your phase 1 is really rapid, you're pushing things through that P450 and super rapid. That means you have a lot of these reactive intermediates here in the middle. If your phase 2 is sluggish, they're going to hang out in this reactive intermediate stage longer and cause more damage in the body. And so we want to balance your phase 1 and phase 2. And we can do some genetic testing to take a look at how well you're methylating. We can take a look at how well you're sulfonating. Glucuronidase is something we can test through a stool test. So we can test some of these things to support you. And if you want to simplify it, make sure that you're getting all those nutrients that are really important in either of those areas. Make sure you're pooping daily. Make sure you're sweating. Maybe a sauna, getting out, moving your body. So our environmental toxic load is becoming increasingly burdensome. We also have more infectious processes that also compromise the body. And the toxic load plus this infectious burden increases systemic overwhelm and more inflammation. And I believe this is why we're seeing more chronic illness getting worse in our society. So basic principles of detoxification: optimize elimination and excretion, pee, poop, sweat, and hydrate so that you're able to move that stuff through. Optimize your gut microbiome. Our gut microbiome, remember, I've talked about this before. I like to think of them as the employees of the body. So those microbes are working to continue to break things down and detoxify. Support mitochondrial function. Mitochondrial function is really important. It's where we create the energy in the body, and it's also the energy currency that most of these systems rely on to continue in the body. And so this is how and then number 4, optimizing biotransformation in the liver, phase 1, phase 2. So liver as a blood filter, liver, just some quick slides to go bring some points home again, acts as our security guard. And this is where phase 1, phase 2, and we remove things after that. Elimination, we eliminate through the colon, kidney, skin, and liver. Tips to support a detoxification in these different organ systems. So antioxidant-rich diet, eat the rainbow. Intermittent fasting can really support liver, phase 1, phase 2. Our kidney support, hydration. Certain foods that support the kidney are basil, lemon, dandelion root, and pomegranate. Supporting our gut microbiome, regular bowel movements, increasing fiber, eating the rainbow, probiotics, supporting our skin, non-toxic body products. Know what you're putting on your skin. Sauna, so you can sweat those products out, and sweating with regular movement. Our lymph system is a very important and not always given enough. We don't shine the light on the lymph system as much as we should, I believe, in medicine. But the lymph system is so powerful at removing those toxins. So ways you can support your lymph system is regular movement, lymph massage, body brushing, and hydration. And if you're curious about more information on lymph support, I did an earlier group visit talk on this, and I'm happy to share that with you. So pooping, eating the rainbow, regular bowel movements, fiber, and probiotics. And then remember respiration. Our respiratory system is also an area we can support detoxification through breath work, air filters, and having green plants in your environment. Let's talk a bit now about the cell danger response, because we've talked about, okay, what we need to detoxify, how the body detoxifies it, but why? What happens if our detoxification systems are not working real well? And this is where I believe that chronic illness you can get in the loop, and chronic illness can worsen. So basically what happens, we have something called the cell danger response. And this is talking again about the mitochondria. This is a natural process that our mitochondria does, and it's really important. They need this to defend themselves against infections, toxins, different traumas, and environmental stressors, okay? So that bell goes off. We get these chemicals by bacteria, mold, emotional stress. They tell the mitochondria there's danger, and that alarm goes off. The same alarm goes off in our mitochondria for all those things. It's not able to distinguish between them. And then number 2, so illness. So this goes on, and instead of going on, handling it, bringing it back down to regular function, this is a prolonged biological reaction to the injury and not necessarily specific of the actual injury. The injury might even be gone, but the body and the inflammation and the alarm continues, and it causes leaky membranes. We talked about the leaky cell membrane, depleted nutrients, enzyme alteration, epigenetic changes. Down to number 3, eventually these cellular signals are so dysfunctional, they cause things like chronic fatigue, autoimmune disease, fibromyalgia, cortisol, hormone imbalance, type 2 diabetes, all sorts of issues. So here is another way to look at it. We get this chemical exposure over time, and due to genetic factors, we get barrier breakdown, moves into oxidative stress, activation of our immune system, pro-inflammatory cytokine and antibody production, and that goes on and on and on, and we have chronic inflammation and autoimmune symptoms. another way to look at it, the 6 roads to autoimmunity. So this is just different ways. We have chemicals bind to tissue proteins and can cause issues. See, I'm not going to go through each of these, but they can damage the tissue, prevent digestion, so prevent your detoxifications from working as they need, change the microbiome, so we have more toxic things being created from our own bacteria, like I talked about the LPS, and they activate our immune system. So when we have T regulatory cells activated, they tell our body to begin to beat up on ourselves. That moves us to risking of autoimmune. And then antibody production, meaning we will be highly or more reactive to exposures to those things in the future. So again, the cell danger response. In the short term, we want that alarm to go on, but we want it to turn off. When it doesn't, it causes a prolonged response. And when that prolonged response goes on long enough, it causes cellular breakdown and dysfunction. Okay, so we have the exposome. This is the body. This is everything we put in front of the body. So if we put unhealthy lifestyle, food additives, standard American diet, toxic chemicals, without being aware of those things, we have low-grade inflammation. This causes a change in our microbiome, causes LPS, which is a lipopolysaccharide, which is actually created with certain bacteria in the gut, but it turns on the immune system. The immune system gets turned on and it starts to handle things. It starts to beat up on our body, and it begins to break down this barrier that in a healthy body supports the brain from inflammation. And then we get a breakdown of what we call the blood-brain barrier, and we get symptoms of an inflamed brain. Other disorders that have been linked to toxic exposures, is a big list. You can just take a look here. Alzheimer's, ALS, anxiety, obsessive compulsive, mitochondria disorder, fibromyalgia, Tourette's syndrome. Really anything can have the root cause of inflammation if it is turning on our immune system to the point where we begin to beat up on ourselves. So I just have some random things in here to talk a bit about certain areas where we get toxins and approaches to avoid. All of these handouts will be in the ancillary information at the CCG replays if you're curious more. So fish, it's an important thing. We need healthy fish for our body for the omega fatty acids that are so healthy for us. But there's a lot of mercury in fish. So these are the fish high in mercury. Moderation, eat these. And fish low in mercury are these over here. It's important to know your source. Cold water, wild caught fish is typically better than farmed fish. Chemicals in plastic, which one should I avoid? So here we go, the phthalates, BPAs, the PFCs, perchlorate, PVC, polystyrene. So just being aware what containers you're using, what cookware you're using, and just limiting those things. And here we go. How to reduce exposures to plastics, explore what your alternatives are, use glass, read the labels. Just limit the amount of packaged foods that you're using. Limit your exposure. If for some reason you work with a lot of cash register receipts, you would want to wear gloves. There's BPA in cash register receipts. And if you're using hand sanitizer and then you're touching a lot of receipts, the hand sanitizer actually brings that BPA into your body more rapidly. Dishes. Oh my goodness. So cookware and dishes. I'm just going to pop down here to the best choices: ceramic, porcelain, glass, wood, bamboo, stainless steel, food grade silicone. So just read labels. Don't go too crazy with this stuff because that creates more inflammation as well. Be intentional and do the best you can. Cutting boards, best choices, bamboo and wood, which is interesting. You think plastic cutting boards they might not absorb some of the like meat juices and things like that, but they have the toxic elements of the plastics in there. Cookware, and we're going to go into cookware a little bit more here. So the least safe cookware is anything coated with Teflon, aluminum, or copper. Cast iron, these are moderately safe cookware, cast iron, glass, and carbon steel. Safe cookware is stainless steel, enamel-coated cast iron, ceramic-coated, and titanium. I will say that cookware can be overwhelming. I think it's good to kind of mix it up a little bit. I think going back to getting rid of all your least safe cookware, and then you don't need to go out and buy all new cookware. Just be aware and minimize the use here, and do your best to navigate and get to these lists of cookware. So again, the cell danger response, just a reminder, all of these things build up over time, affect our mitochondria, affect our inflammation, and cause chronic disease. We can test for a lot of these. This is just a Great Plains test, that an example of one. And so if you're curious, we can certainly talk about doing this test, and you can take a look at what toxins are hanging out in your body that you can begin to detoxify and be more intentional about. All right, so I'm going to take you through BPA and how it gets detoxified in the body. This was a great Instagram post by somebody I love, Carrie Jones. She does great work, so I'm want to definitely acknowledge her, but use these great slides. So your BPA is in your body. First, it goes into the liver, and then it goes into the bile and out through your intestines and out to your urine. So phase 1 over here, remember, these are the nutrients we need. These enzymes convert it into that intermediate. Remember that intermediary is more toxic than actually it was before it went through phase 1. Phase 2 for BPA, it goes through something called glucuronidation, and that means it gets added a molecule to make it less toxic. And so then it can also be water soluble, and you can pee it out. It can also go through your sulfonation. So for instance, this is a good point here. If you're somebody that has a genetic SNP in your sulfonation, it would go through your glucuronidation. If you have a poor glucuronidation, it would go through your sulfonation. So the body has checks and balances. We just need to support them. And bisphosphonol can also bind with glutathione and get excreted. That would be pooped out. Okay, so what can you do? There's BPA everywhere. Minimize your exposure, so take the burden off the body. Support your liver. These are the phase 1 and phase 2. Support nutrients. Eat quality foods. Eat the rainbow. Get evaluated for your glutathione. If we've done an oat test on you, then we've checked your glutathione. Other antioxidants are also helpful. So green tea is a great antioxidant, and helping your gut microbiome to be healthy, and make sure you're having a regular bowel movement, drinking lots of water, and urinating. So there we go. 75% of Americans are chronically dehydrated. Drink your water. You are what you eat, drink, and can't excrete. Very important to keep your bowels moving. So just a quick overview here as we finish up. Eat the rainbow, intermittent fasting, hydration, detoxifying foods, know your body products, sweat, move, body brushing, hydration, lymph massage, fiber intake, breath work, air filters, and green plants. And I'm going to say vagal toning is really important. It can be stressful to think about all the toxins that we are bringing in. Don't think that way. Be mindful, do your vagal toning, find joy in your life, and support your body to do what your body knows how to do its best. All right. Well, thank you for being here today. I look forward to our next presentation. And as always, reach out if you have any questions.